What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are back, and I have a quick announcement here. We had Nick Powell on here, my buddy, and did an interview, but we are going to bring him on as a co-host. So welcome back, Nick.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Proud to be here. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We talked a little bit before we got on here what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about, Bad Batch. We're going to talk about Acolytes. We'll talk about this Tales of the Empire that they just dropped on everybody, which I thought was insane that it was such a good kept secret.
Yeah, big drop.
Yeah, I mean, everybody on the internet was like, holy cow, nobody really knew about it, which I thought was pretty neat because everything else we find out about, we know it's going, and so it's really cool that they did that. What was your first thoughts when you saw that trailer?
I think similar to what you just said, surprise. I thought, man, did I miss that? And I said earlier that I would have assumed Tales of the Jedi 2 or something like that.
Right.
And I'm pumped. I thought it looked sweet, similar to Tales of the Jedi, like looks really good and looks a little more Clone Wars-y. And then the characters they chose,
I'm
into it.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat that some of the characters that they did bring, back, and then it sounds like they're going to have that two-part, with Barriss and then also Morgan Elsbeth, which is really cool because again we have so much, and we see her on that planet again where she meets Ahsoka, and Thrawn's in there again, Grievous is back, which is going to be insane. I think
I like the idea that we're going backward and forward in time like Tales of the Jedi did. I wasn't expecting to see Grievous either, and I love me some Grievous. So I'm excited.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite, bad guys.
Yeah.
When they brought him in.
Yep.
He's just such a good character, and again with the Clone Wars, like you said, we're definitely getting into that Clone Wars thing again, which I think will be great, and hopefully we'll see some more. I'm sure they'll have some more surprises in there
for sure,
for us. But I think it's neat again, like you said, the back and forth where they're going to go, and it looks like they do go back.
Yep.
A few times, especially with Morgan when she's talking to why she wants to, be with the Empire,
right?
Because her planet got destroyed, and they show her fighting Grievous.
Yep.
Which will be really cool too. So again, the fourth sister, there's speculation about who that is, different things. So that'll be interesting to see that. And then at the end of the trailer, when they all kneel down, and here comes, Darth, walking through.
You gotta think he recognizes her a little bit, maybe.
Well, for Barriss, absolutely,
Yeah.
he has to. I mean, and it'll be interesting to see if he confronts her about, being a Jedi and now flipping over to this side, and I thought it was really cool, again, because we don't know what happens at the end of Clone Wars when she's taken away.
Right.
She's just taken away, and now all of a sudden, they come in and click, undo her, handcuffs and walk away, which I also thought was really cool. It's very similar to when Palpatine, with Luke.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't need those anymore.
Yeah.
He just clicks them
Drops
off
them.
and so again, I love all the Easter eggs that they bring into this that Dave is going back to even the original.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
And I also, it's probably happened before a lot that I'm just not thinking of, but I like this idea of now we're going back to stuff he made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, and obviously George was involved with all the early Clone Wars stuff too, but we're going back into parts of the stories that he worked on rather than like going into films he wasn't on and has studied. But now, with this Morgan Elsbeth thing, adding a little layer to something he already created,
Right.
might get a little deep. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And again, I mean, and just some of these characters, because again, like with Ahsoka that he created, what a great, so, and there's tie-ins with that obviously too, so we will see why she was so devoted, to the Empire and to Thrawn, to obviously, as we saw her, give up her life, at the end there. But the Night Sisters, it brings a whole new dynamic into it. And I also think it's cool that they bring Barriss in again because we're seeing that Jedi that's flipping again.
Yep. And I wonder if maybe Barriss has a little built-in trust with Vader because, at the time when they had a little confrontation, Anakin was mad at her for betraying the Jedi. So, right. At this point, he knows, well, maybe, she's already turned once. She might be a good candidate to serve me, I don't know, speculation.
Yeah, no, but it is, yeah, because I guess they'll probably will figure it out. But I'm sure there's a timeline of how long she's been imprisoned from when they bring her out to training her. Yep. Again, in the trailer, you see that whole thing where she's fighting, inside that red dome or circle, which obviously looks very similar to, the lights that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon went with Darth Maul.
The shields.
So again, obviously they can't break through with their lightsaber, so either it burns you or cuts you or something. So obviously you can't get thrown into that. So you're either going to die a Jedi or live and be on the dark side.
Yep.
So but again, it'd be interesting to see how many episodes they have, and I guess they're going to do probably the little short 15-minute, and just tease us a little bit more.
Is it like was it 6 last time for Tales of the Jedi?
I think so, 4 or 6, yeah. But again, it's just those little 15-minute ones, which is like, oh man, we could have, wish we had so much more.
Right.
Speaking of cliffhangers, I mean the last episode of Bad Batch. We had 2 episodes last week. We got one coming up. It'll probably air just before we put this out. Yep. So obviously we won't be able to check that out. But last week I thought was great with the 2 episodes where they've done that a few times.
Yeah.
But they're only doing single episodes for the remainder. Right. And I think the last one ends like May 1st or whatever.
Okay.
And then
perfect.
And then May 4th we get this other stuff, and then June we get Acolyte. So we just keep on rolling. So what were your thoughts on Bad Batch?
Specifically the last 2 episodes. Little heartbreaking in a good way. Like cliffhanger's big. We were talking, you had mentioned Omega turning herself in. I don't know if like I agree with you. I don't know if I saw her turning herself in, but I figured it wasn't over with her getting captured or
for sure
having heat on her. I really like the new dynamic now with her and Crosshair.
Yeah.
And I think it was perfect, although really sad that he missed the shot.
Yeah.
With everything he's been dealing with and actually having like care for her and missing, it's got to be, devastating. Yeah. But that was their only shot, and they missed it. And up to that point, they usually get away with that every time,
Right.
It works every time, and now it's pretty dire, so some serious stuff needs to happen to
find out where she's at. Yeah.
So I like that part. I don't mind the heroes losing a little bit to end up figuring it out.
Yeah, we have to. I always think that we have to have that. The stormtroopers have to hit a shot once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, so we can't have just good triumphing all the time, because there's a lot of dark side fans out there too.
Yeah.
So they got one this week.
Right. And I think another thing I was surprised to enjoy was Emery, and sort of. I don't know if she's gonna turn or anything, but being unsure about her newfound position with these kids, and not seeing them as subjects or specimens as they call them, but as kids, and going like, oh man. So now with Omega coming back, I wonder what that's going to do to her. I think that's a good setup. But I would like to start the conversation with you about this Hemlock guy. Gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
And I don't know. What do you think about this whole situation?
Yeah, I think it was cool that, Emery went and talked to Nala Se, and then Nala Se is like, oh, now you're dealing with these kids.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think Hemlock is just deviant. He's in charge of this program, which is the
Project Necromancer.
Yeah. Yep. So again, which is going to be what they're working on, or what the Emperor was working on for, obviously, the last Skywalker, for him to come back in some sort of, life form. So I thought that was interesting. But I think Hemlock is like Rampart. I mean, they're just deviant, like Thrawn and, Tarkin.
Yep.
they're just these are the top bad guys, and this is the top doctor that's in this program. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It shows you how important this project is. That Palpatine says you can have whatever you want, you have whatever resources you want. This is of the most significant importance to me. And that Tarkin tells him or asks him, "What are you doing?" And
right.
he's like, "Not for you to know, man."
Right.
Yeah. Tarkin can't know about it. Like Tarkin's in on the Death Star, and he can't know about this.
Right.
Like, it's a big deal. And for this deviant guy to be trusted with it means he's got something bad to him.
Yeah.
And I think he's creepy. I think he's a perfect villain to take that role. And I like that they're using not only this to build up Palpatine's thing, but it builds up the Mandalorian a little bit too. Because they mentioned Project Necromancer in season 3 of The Mandalorian when all the future First Order people are in that hologram meeting.
Right.
And they mentioned, well, what about that project? And they're like, well, we need some time. And they're sort of implying that that's one of the ways or reasons that they're going after Grogu. Turns out Gideon wants him for his own project. Right. But, for it to still be going on at that point, I don't know if that's 20 years or whatever it is past where we're at now, 25 years.
Yeah.
There's definitely, they're struggling with it because we've seen Rise of Skywalker, he's still a corpse. So,
right.
So, they never really get it totally down.
Right. And then at the end of that, obviously, we see that the only way that he's able to do that is to drain, Rey and Kylo from their energy. So, again, and that's the crazy part about all of this, because, again, however many episodes we have left, there has to be an end.
Yeah.
Does the Bad Batch ride off into the sunset? Does something happen? Is this the end of Omega?
Right.
Again, we don't know what's happened after that. These characters aren't around. So, again, there's different things that we can bring up, like Asajj. Mm-hmm. Everybody's talking about the death, but again, I saw some stuff, where, at the end of that book, she's taken back, and she is submerged in those waters. So again, we really don't know,
right?
Which I think is cool because then they can bring her back because she is such a pivotal character. First of all, I think in the whole Star Wars universe, but a great character in this. Now that they've brought her back, almost as even a master to an apprentice, similar thing. Even if we just have one episode, and I don't know if they'll bring her back again. But it was such a cool interaction with her and Omega, and her turn into maybe not the light side, but she's not all dark anymore.
Yeah, I like that she lied to Omega also.
Yeah,
said have it, kid, and then is like, keep her away from it. Take it from me. This whole thing sucks.
Right.
Because she, she's got a lifelong issues. Her whole life was being used basically and discarded, and her planet was messed up like Morgan Elsbeth, same situation. Yeah. Probably a good lead in for all this Night Sister stuff.
Yeah.
We've already seen them do some cool stuff with magic, and perfectly reasonable way for Asajj to come back.
Right.
If we're sticking to the events of the book.
Right.
Who knows? Yeah, I think she's a good pop-in character like Cad Bane. I think she's more important than Cad Bane, but he's a badass, and it's cool to see him in an episode. I liked that. I don't think he's coming back anymore.
No, I don't think so either. I think that was good. They did that little cameo with him, which I'm sure they're probably going to pop a couple more cameos in before we're done.
Yeah,
but again, it does show that he doesn't care.
Yeah, right.
He comes in, he takes the little one, and he don't give a crap.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a job.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which I think is just ruthless.
Yeah.
For again, just in the world in general, but it's like kids. That's the things you don't touch. So that he's
he doesn't care he doesn't even care about what the Empire wants either. He's like, got this kid.
Right.
Give me my money.
Yeah.
I don't care how you guys are doing. I'm out.
Yeah.
And and I think he's always been interesting to me because if we're talking not even Palpatine as his identity as Palpatine, but Darth Sidious side of him has had a direct link to Cad Bane for years in the Clone Wars. And I don't think Cad Bane has any idea of who that actually is.
No.
But it's a good way to show how Palpatine and therefore the rest of the Empire will dip a toe in the underworld to get something done. And I think that's present in all of Star Wars, even the originals. Vader hiring bounty hunters to find the Millennium Falcon.
Yep.
Or in some of the comics and stuff, Vader basically having Boba Fett as a personal bounty hunter for whatever he wants and that sort of thing. So I like that a lot. I like the weaving and how they're not really connected to each other, but if they can help each other out and there's money involved, cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
He's
it's ruthless. It's scary and gross, but, you know, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I thought they did a great job. You know, and again, that cliffhanger at the end. I thought it was sort of cool, too, sort of like they've done with The Mandalorian, where that first episode last week, boys weren't in it, you know, at all. You know, it was all about, you know, this other story that's going on. You know, so again, they step away a little bit, you know, you can pull back. But, you know, again, with Wrecker getting hurt, right, that's going to be interesting. There was some stuff on the internet, you know, talking about, you know, he might die. You know, so again, if they're taking away some of these guys now, one by one, you know, what's going to happen to these other two. So, but again, I think it's cool that they're bringing back Asajj, because now that she is live and back, they could do a spinoff on that too, because I think she's got a cool story and there's other stuff, you know. Again, like you were saying before when we had talked, that book was supposed to be part of the Clone Wars. You know, which would be awesome to bring her and Quinlan Vos together. So again, they could do that, or even go back and forth, you know, from when they were together to whatever, you know, just her thinking or whatever, because I think it would be cool.
We've already got the Quinlan Vos Easter egg in Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
It's primed.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was cool. I think it's Phantom Menace that you see
he's undercover.
Yeah, he's just sitting these little spot in the background, you know, you see him. So again, there's possibilities, and obviously Dave likes him enough to start putting in Easter eggs for him. So again, who knows? You know, I think he did. Did he survive? Obviously, he survived Order 66.
Yeah. So the Easter egg in Obi-Wan is just that he had signed his name to the wall. Obi-Wan and Leia go through. You know, they go through the tunnel. I forget what they call the path.
Yeah, the path.
And he said Quinlan's been here, and then they're like, he helps from time to time.
Yeah.
So at least at that point, he's there. Which would mean during Bad Batch he's there. So if we stick in Bad Batch timeline, you know, Asajj and Quinlan, who knows? I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that would be a cool to bring him in one of these last episodes or something like that. You know, but again, my thing is just what are we gonna do at the end here? Yeah,
it's tough to say, but they're not around in anything that we have so far. So you know, and I don't know, they'd be a big help later on. So,
well, and the galaxy's huge, and I get that, you know, and we'll have to figure it out. But I heard something that I guess technically Ahsoka was around, you know, during A New Hope, and you know, so again, where is she at this point? And maybe we'll get some of that, you know, in this Grogu movie. Maybe if we do, you know, season 2, you know, of Ahsoka, they'll flash back to some of that type of stuff or whatever. I guess I couldn't really do that because it was before that, or it was after that. It's after all this, right?
Which
with Luke and Leia being old enough during A New Hope, Ahsoka was still around.
Right, exactly. So, they could flash back to whatever she was doing then.
Younger. Yes, okay, yep. Which I think it would be cool because just to find out, you know, she's like, I'm not a Jedi. I'm out. I'm over here fighting something going on over here, you know, or I'm going to be a rebel again, you know,
and. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of characters we could probably dig in forever and how many characters were around, what could be going down, and it always leads to more stories, you know, Thrawn's around, all that kind of stuff, but around elsewhere, you know, and whatever, you know, all these things that are coming out of Ahsoka, I'm super curious, Buddy Austin's super curious about what they're bringing to Dathomir.
Yeah.
You know, what's that all about? It feels like something big. Again, if Thrawn's not around in First Order time, something has to go down.
Right.
You know, Ahsoka isn't around First Order time. She's one of the voices Rey hears. What goes down, you know.
And she could even die of old age because I don't know how long her species, you know, lives, obviously. But again, Yoda, you know, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
He fights
Obi-Wan,
the Emperor. He's gone. Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has his deal, and I understand that. But again, and Yoda did his thing. So there's something where Ahsoka was like, "Hey, I'm out. I'm going over here. I'm laying all my stuff down and not being a Jedi anymore and going to live my life or whatever."
And so many of them have to do that. They endanger other people by not becoming hermits. So,
just like that guy in, I forget his name, in Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
they hang him up.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you got captured.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'm excited about the rest of this season. And then we go right into Tales of the Empire, which will be great. And then,
have you seen any of the stuff about this operative, the CX something, the operative that was hunting the Bad Batch?
Oh, there's some speculation that it's tech.
Yeah.
I don't know. The way that this last episode sort of portrayed him, I don't think it is.
Right.
I think he's still whoever it is, if it is even anybody that we know.
Right.
I don't think it's tech, and obviously they still are like, screw it, I'm hunting these people.
I always took it as this is what they were trying to make Crosshair into.
Yeah. For sure.
Where it could just be a clone, but
correct.
But yeah, I think that's also a huge threat because Hemlock definitely created a really capable warrior.
Oh yeah,
to hunt the people that have been giving him problems.
Right.
I would like to see what happens with that if there's more of them. He said the rest of them aren't ready yet to join you, but how many are there? Is that going to be a problem? I don't know. But,
and again, with all the resources that the Emperor's given him, who knows what he can do with that?
And like Gideon, or like many of the Imperials, does Hemlock have his own thing? Like, is that his own thing, where he's doing necromancer,
right?
For the Emperor, but like, is the operative project his own thing that he might be, siphoning some of the time to? Which one's more important? Because I would feel like if it works with Omega, Palpatine's got his plan good to go.
Right.
So something's got to be off there. I see some potential for a sabotage. Somewhere, even from Emery or Nalase or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's what I was going to bring up. I think Emery could possibly do that. Because once Omega's there for a little while, and they figure out, or she talks to her. Because again, Omega has that presence about her and that innocence, but also as she's been going out with the guys here, the Bad Batch, that she is obviously, a little hardcore and she wants to get the job done and she's going to do what it takes, but she's still that cute little innocent kid, even though she's older, but again, it's just, I think that could be, where she turns Emery, onto her side, and whether it destroys the whole thing and she gets out and Emery doesn't,
right?
And she sacrifices herself. That could be interesting as well to see what happens. So, and obviously it's already done, so we'll see it when it comes out. But it's cool, and I like to again wait until we see all that stuff, because we can speculate about all this stuff. But again, it's same with Cad Bane, whether we're going to see him again or not, or Ahsoka. I have a feeling we might, or not Ahsoka, Visage, I think that we'll probably see her again before this season's over, maybe to help rescue Omega.
Right.
Again, still wondering, is Tech going to come back?
Right.
Does Wrecker make it? Is Crosshair going to get his, aim back?
Right.
So again, but I think, like you said at the beginning, it's such a cool thing to take a step back and have the bad guys win one or two.
Yeah.
Because they can't just win them all.
Right.
So
I think that's what made Empire so hit so hard.
Oh,
it's not necessarily a great, fun ending.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So
yeah. What about Acolytes? What do you think about that?
Great trailer. We had talked about when, I think we both thought that the trailer would come out with the move, May 4th weekend with the movies.
Yeah, that's what I had thought.
And
then it
there
dropped.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have been looking forward to this one just because I like that it's, maybe a mystery or whatever. It feels like it's going to be different the way that they had always described it leading up. I think the trailer looked great. Very curious as to what all these characters do or like what their place in it is. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I thought, it looks great. And that's the thing, I was some of this stuff on social media and these things out there, people, Star Wars is dead, since it came to Disney and, this is going to flop, but again, I don't understand why they're thinking that because again, this is stepping away from the Skywalker,
right?
Whatever years or generations or whatever we're, want to call it. And I think it's cool to bring in some of these new, characters again that again aren't going to live 800-900 years like Wookiees or like Yoda's species. They live maybe 100 years, maybe 89 years or whatever. So I think it's cool to bring some of these humans and some of these other species in here, because again they could have died of natural causes, but again this new Wookiee that they're bringing in, Kelneka. I think he just looks cool.
Like the bun.
Yeah, exactly. Bringing a little bit of the 20th century in with the man bun.
I feel like, to your point about the social media thing, that's just probably always going to be there. Always has been. I don't see any issues with how it looks. I think it looks great, particularly for the time that they're into. Like we're talking about prime, like the prime of High Republic Jedi. Things are good, and you can see it in the trailer. Like when Master Soul, who's supposedly going to be like one of the lead people we're following here, he's walking around the room with the kids. It's bright, it's luminous, like the shot's bright. I think that gives a feel, and then in all the other tense parts of the trailer, it's very dark. And they need the lightsabers on to see, all that kind of thing. I think that's I think that's intentional. I think they've always done stuff like that.
Intentional.
It's intentional in the Obi-Wan series in that final scene where they're talking and Anakin starts talking to him and you see the blue reflection of Obi-Wan's lightsaber and then he starts to get a little weird and it goes red. I think it's always intentional and I think it looks great and I think that's what we're in for.
And I think that is like a flashback, when he is teaching, and maybe not, maybe it is, that's sort of like what's going on right now. And then we go back into, maybe the Sith is coming up. But I think, if it is a flashback, which would be cool, some of the other young Jedi that he's in there training. And if it is a flashback, maybe we see some of this, like this jockey or Jackie, as a kid. As one of those, or Yord, because I think he's just a Jedi Knight. So again, we could have some of these that are sitting around closing their eyes talking about, what do you see? And the one says fire.
And they're like, oh.
It's like, oh, okay, But some of these characters, I think, and to your point, I think it's cool because, we don't know any of these characters yet. So we don't know what they do, what their powers are, how.
We know one. We know Vern Esta.
Is that the green?
Yep. Yes. She's the bald green Jedi Master. She has a pretty, I don't know if it's like huge, but she has a role in the High Republic books. Just like a, solid Jedi Master. I'm sure she'll be involved in maybe being the level head of the group. I don't know. We'll see. Otherwise, you're right. Like no other new people no other recurring people. Depending on, we have an open canvas as far as Sith stuff goes. They don't have to pull exactly what, for example, the Darth Plagueis novel said. That's a legend situation. It's a blank canvas. We don't even know what we're dealing with.
Well, and I think with that May character, we're not sure who she is yet.
Exactly.
They really don't show that, and maybe they will in the next trailer or two or whatever. But is she the Acolyte? Or is she just trying to find her way, or is she part of the Sith already? So I think that'll be interesting. But again, she's fighting the Jedi, so is she not sure who she is yet, or is she a bad, is she a dark side?
And apparently successfully, because in the trailer it said someone's been killing Jedi. So someone's been successfully doing their job. I like to think that they all make it, but to not to come to Phantom Menace and not have any idea that the Sith are back might not be very good news for our
and that'll be interesting to see, what goes on. I saw something on social media the other day where it's like, do the Jedi know and they're just hiding it?
Right.
Make it so Mace and Yoda are like, we're not going to talk about this until it comes up again, because, maybe they push it back, they get rid of, this Acolyte, and then they just try to hide it, and then that's when...
Because they do that in Attack of the Clones anyway.
Yeah.
They go, man, we can't see anything. Don't tell anybody.
Right, exactly.
So
and your two highest power talking about that, it's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
These guys might be a little bit, maybe not corrupt, but...
But they're, it's this dance that the Jedi play the whole time in that era, which is... That's probably the objectively right move to not announce during a war that your biggest advantage is gone.
Yeah.
So that would, let's keep it internal.
Right. So it's definitely a strategy, and I'm sure that's what Dave looked at it as.
But then they should probably maybe broaden how internal it is instead of keeping it to themselves.
Yeah.
So who knows what happens with this thing, and I like that not only do the characters not know what they're dealing with, but we don't know what we're dealing with.
Right.
Because a lot of times we get hints from trailers or whatever era we're in with who could be the villain here. We got an open canvas.
Right.
We don't necessarily know how the events work out. We don't, we're far enough away from the Phantom Menace that, no one's except Yoda is involved that we know of really. So I'm excited. I think it's unique for what we've been seeing that we don't know who we're dealing with.
Right. And I think the mother and Asia, or however you say that, she talks about, it's about power.
Yeah. And who has it.
Right.
Yeah. Or who's allowed to have it.
Right. Which I think is another good thing. And I think it's cool the way that they're bringing back the fighting, with that May and the Jedi and Dara, where, I mean, it's the old school, even I forget the name of the dragon movie, but they're just flying around and flipping, and they do the slide back after you get force pushed, so I think that's neat because again, that was a lot of George's inspiration in some of this stuff.
The Jedi stuff is a martial art.
Yeah, for sure.
I might be reaching here, but the first thing I noticed when I saw May and Mother Anicia, they have like the purple robes, purplish robes. Yep. My brain just popped Acolytes on that, specifically because of those guys that talked to Palpatine in Return of the Jedi in the throne room,
like the people on the council or whatever, whoever they are.
They turn out in one of the novels to be his acolytes,
right?
And the creepy looking one's wearing purple.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a reach, but that was what popped into my mind. Because he has this guy that you see in the throne room for 1 second, has a pretty big role in like 2 of the books, and he's crazy, but he's just like obsessed with doing the Sith's bidding, and he keeps it his life secret. That whole thing, he just got one role, and I'm sure Palpatine had 100 of them,
Oh, for sure.
You serve me, you're obsessed with it, go.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think it's cool, like you said before, where there's so much mysterious, we don't know who is good or bad.
Right.
It's a trap!
It's like Darth Vader. We didn't, boom, all of a sudden, oh, this guy's Luke's father? Holy cow, So I think that's cool where we're not sure who May might be. She might be one of the good guys.
Yeah. One of the Jedi we see might not be all that great.
Turn to the other side. So I think it's going to be fun just to watch all 3 of these, which is cool because at the beginning of the year we weren't sure what we were going to get. Yep. With the strike that went on and stuff. And again, I think they've started to bring it back again, which is cool, and it's going to bring us into at least towards the end of the summer. With Acolyte starting in June. I'm guessing they're probably going to do 6 or 8 episodes. So that'll bring us, at least into July, which will be cool, and hopefully we'll get some other stuff coming out. I saw they had a release date for that Glass Abyss, the new Mace movie or book. So I saw that had a release date on that, which will be cool. For this fall, and then the Living Force I guess it's out, I think. I'm not positive, but I pre-ordered it, so hopefully it's either coming soon or
might be around
I'm just going to go
somewhere.
I'm going to have to go find it, and have 2 of them. Yeah, I think everything that's coming out is going to be really cool with expanding the universe and keeping us involved in it, you know. And I mean, like you said, you're going to have the haters. It is what it is. But again, I think for most of the fans, we're just diving into more of these characters again with Tales of the Empire.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it was so cool that they kept it secret, which is insane nowadays because there's so much stuff.
Good for them, given how much we can learn on a daily basis. Good for them.
All of these, social media platforms. It's like all of a sudden, boom! It was like, holy cow!
Yeah,
I had people, texting me and stuff afterwards, and it was just like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Which was cool, and a lot of these other social media people, nobody put it out there.
Right.
Oh, we're getting this new trailer or whatever. All of a sudden it was there.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool about the animation because again, I'm sure you have a handful of people that are doing it, but it's not like a set.
Right.
Where you have probably hundreds, if not thousands of people that know about it, know what's going on. They've announced it. You got your riggers and your hands and your drivers and every other thing, where you just have a small little group of your writers and your animators that are doing these projects.
Keep a lid on it a little easier. Yeah. Yeah.
Sign all their NDAs and keep your mouth shut.
I like how they... one of the obvious benefits of animation is you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't need, like you said, you don't need a huge operation. You obviously you probably do, but not like a live action crew set, that sort of thing.
Right.
To where we can work on any era we want or get any kind of new or old Star Wars stories that we want out of the animation. And I feel like it's just going to keep going forever. We can open up these new stories even within things that I wasn't, I don't mean this in a bad way. I wasn't asking for more Morgan Elsbeth, but now I saw it and I want to see it,
Right.
Like I want to see all of it. I want to see more probably when it's done.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking of that. And then they just kind of pop in with these animated series that give us even more than we thought we wanted or
that's definitely somebody that I would not have, picked as a character and said, hey, who would you want to see a series on? I would not have picked her.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't like her or think that she's not significant in this.
Just wouldn't have even thought of her.
Right. But I also think it's cool to bring Barris in too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because again, you're bringing in that Jedi that's supposed to be good. That's like, hey, you know what? Y'all aren't doing as great a job as you should be. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing here?
Right.
Are we going to continue to do this or are we going to, go this other way?
Do or do not. There is no try.
She did.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited about that along with the other stuff. But again, for me, we're just building on these characters that, that we've just learned about or we've known about for the past couple years, which is really cool.
I think there's more to Thrawn too that you can get from the novels or whatever, but I would like to see more of just him on screen and not like what he's doing for the Empire.
Right.
More of like his perspective. As far as the newer Thrawn books go, he's in a very similar situation as Morgan Elsbeth. He doesn't really care for the Empire as a thing. It's just his greatest chance at achieving power. Like it's the owner of all the power by the time he's involved. So he's in.
Right.
And I think they have a common trait there.
Right. So I haven't read all of the new Thrawn books. What's the timeline on that?
That is similar time. So like
has he been gone and is this his return or is this before
this is prior? Should be prior.
Okay.
So like I don't know based on where Tales is. I don't know where his part in Tales is, but he shows up officially with the Empire between 3 and 4.
Okay.
Because Rebels then occurs somewhere in there. But he shows up and had previously met Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars way out.
Right.
Because he's kind of been alone doing stuff. And he makes his way. This is in the current novel. It's very different from the original Thrawn books. But in the current timeline, he's joined up with the Empire by purposely getting captured.
Okay.
And then sort of works his way up the ranks because he's brilliant, makes some allies and that sort of thing. But that occurs like early in that time frame of Empire forming.
Okay.
And there was, I feel like it kind of builds on his competition with like Tarkin and those guys because they're all coming up at the same time. And there's this interesting dynamic where Thrawn is the only non-human.
Oh, okay.
So there's this weird, people don't understand what's going on because Palpatine loves him.
Right.
But everyone like thinks Palpatine or believes Palpatine is like humans only. He's a speciesist, all this kind of stuff, like humans only. But yet we got this guy who's all of a sudden promoted to Grand Admiral like right away.
Right.
What's going on. So there's kind of these political things. Anyway, it's all in like the formation of the Empire. Because by the time we get to Rebels, he's working on that TIE fighter program that he thinks is more important than the Death Star. And they're kind of battling for who gets what.
Yeah.
But
except then the necromancer comes along and they
right.
They want,
right.
Well, and again, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here, because again, you and I can talk about, but there's some things that, you've read a few more books than I have. I have some of my favorite ones, but again, the lore that you bring to this, which is cool, I think is fun because again, I can bounce stuff off of you as well.
Appreciate it.
I
just got to, shake the dust off a little bit sometimes.
But again, and it's crazy because some of the timeline is just like, I have to go in and I'm like, and I'll pull stuff up or Google it like everybody else does with stuff nowadays, or ask Siri or AI, and be like, okay, where is this timeline? When is this taking place? Because again, there's so much stuff coming in now, when is it taking place? When does, Thrawn going back now with Ezra and Hera, when is that time? Who's in charge at that point? And when Ahsoka, is she going to come back?
Right.
So again, it's a whole thing, and I know that Ahsoka and Mandalorian all sort of take spots in the same era.
It should be like less than a decade after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
From what I understand.
Okay. And then
change the graphic if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, it's like shortly, but not right after Return of the Jedi, and it's kind of like bleeding into this Rise of the First Order time.
Okay.
New Republic's around, but not doing great. Like we see his own Boba Fett, or kind of all of it.
Yeah, it started in that area. Yeah, which is sort of interesting too. Speaking of Boba Fett, I saw someone that was had something on, I forget what it was, for how long he was in the Sarlacc pit.
Okay.
Because people were talking about months or years or this or that. And honestly, it's only probably several hours.
Right.
Because again, you see his oxygen can only last for so long.
Yeah.
And obviously he's about out because he goes over to the Stormtrooper and takes some oxygen from there and then comes out. So obviously, it wasn't just a couple months or anything like that, but it also wasn't a couple months that he was with the Tuskens either.
Right.
Because it's like, I think it's like they talk about like a 2-year period or something, that he's been gone. Right. And everybody thought he was dead.
And he had some time between Tuskens and getting his armor back too, right?
Right.
Up into Mandalorian.
Yeah. Which is cool because I just watched, just being gone the past few weekends, I watched Boba Fett again.
Oh yeah.
All the way through, which was cool because again, you have those 2 episodes where, Grogu makes his decision, Mandalorian, goes and he's, cast out of, because he takes his helmet off. He's
an apostate. Is that the word? Yeah.
Yep. So they take that from him. So it's a cool thing, to continue, again, just watching it and picking up more stuff along the way. And also with this new stuff coming out, then you fall back and you're like, oh, okay, I forgot about that. So that's what I thought was really neat.
I was just about to ask, anything pop up on another viewing of Boba Fett for you?
Yeah, there was a couple little things, but again, the whole, just the Grogu stuff, which I thought was sort of cool because again, it sounds like, he gives up his training, because Luke talks about, hey, if you become a Jedi, it's going to take a while. You're going to have to get rid of all your attachments, and it's not going to be like, you're not just going to become a Jedi overnight. Right. And a short time for you is a lifetime for other people.
Right.
Which is key, on that. But again, like you said, we don't have these characters in some of these new movies. So it's like, okay, what have you done? You know, and then there's also talk about, you know, they're trying to just like cut those last 3 movies and do something different. And, you know, it's like, no, you can't do that. You know, we've already established it.
I think Project Necromancer is obvious evidence that they're not doing that, you know?
Yeah. They have to bring it to fruition,
you
know, to when Palpatine at least tries it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that we have a lot of good stuff coming up, you know, especially with the Bad Batch, you know, again, like I said, figuring out what we're going to do with those guys.
Right.
You know, and then this Tales is going to be great. I think, it might only be 4 or 6 episodes, you know, but again, they can, if they get to the meat of it, which I think they did a great job with Tales of the Jedi, you know, just with the Dooku and the Ahsoka stuff, we found out so much more,
right?
You know, in those 15-20 minute clips, you know, that we got, you know, and it was enough to keep us satisfied.
And they were in like pivotal spots of the things we already know, so it adds so much to, you know, the whole picture, even in 15 minutes. You know, it's such a filling piece. I don't know how to say that, but yeah.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
You know, and that's just it. We don't know what's to come, you know. So again, I think that's cool. I do like watching some of the stuff where they're like, oh, well, there's a sneak peek here or there, you know. But again, until it comes out, you know, we don't know. You know, like again, tomorrow will be a cool episode, you know, that we'll talk about, or when we get back on here, which will be really neat just to see. You know, how probably by the time we do, you know, the Bad Batch will almost be over. Yeah. You know, which again we can talk about and see, and that might also, because obviously they know what's going on. So the end of the Bad Batch, maybe when they do the Tales of the Empire, they have some stuff going on into that, and even with Acolytes, you know, sometimes it's hard. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit back to Acolytes. You know, I was watching, I thought another trailer, but it wasn't. You know, it's just one of those. It's another one it's not an official one.
Oh, okay.
You know, somebody made it up because I was like, oh, okay, there's Yoda in it. And it was like a scene I really didn't remember, but then there was a couple scenes that they show of Yoda, and you know, again that I do remember in the movie. Yeah. So it's like, you know, people are out there, and I understand it's cool to making it up and stuff, but the official stuff is then we can talk about it and we know exactly what's going on.
I might have seen the same one, or maybe you send it to me. I'm not sure, but. Someone had pieced together that there was a video game that I don't think is happening anymore called Star Wars Eclipse.
Oh, okay.
It's a sick trailer from around the same time frame, and they had pieced up parts of that and put it into the Acolyte. It was really cool. Same thing. There's a scene of like Yoda sitting in or standing in the council chamber looking out, and I was like, "Where's that from?" Like, wow, I didn't see this in the first trailer.
Yeah,
it turned out someone made it. People are really talented. Cool, but it confused me a little bit.
With all this AI stuff coming out, it's like insane. You don't know what's real and what's not. You know, is it real or is it Memorex?
Oh, who knows?
Right.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
With all the films going into theaters in May, what are you going to first?
Well, I'm actually going to be at the Fan Expo in Philly for I think the 2nd through the 6th. But by the time I get in there and then leave, which I'm really excited about, I got some passes to meet some people, so that's pretty cool. You know, I'm going to try to do some live stuff while I'm up there. So again, tune in. I'm going to do some live stuff at between May 4th and 5th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is the Philly Expo, which will be fun. So, but I already got tickets for the 3rd. When I get in there, I think it's the 3rd, for Phantom Menace.
Sweet.
Because there's only select cities that are showing all 9 of them.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which I think Philly is, but they start at like 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
you know, so I'm not sure. It just showed, you know, just they really didn't have a lot of information on it yet, you know, so I'll probably go back and look because, again, if there's something playing after I get out, because I think the first day, Friday, it doesn't start till 4. It's like 4 to 9.
Right.
So I figured I'll get in there, get checked in, get situated. I'll go watch this, which will be great, and then I'll go over to the show for a little while.
Perfect.
Do that, and then Saturday, Sunday, you know, I have time set up for, you know, some of the the panels and stuff, because I mean Hayden's going to be there, Rosario's going to be there, a bunch of the voice actors, you know, which is really cool. So going to try to do some of that stuff. But yeah, so and I think it's really going to be cool just to see Phantom, again for the first time or in the theater, on the big screen. So I think it's going to be really cool about that. So it'll be fun. So what about you?
Well, if some place is showing all 9 of them here, I haven't seen if they're doing them all here. They're for sure doing Phantom here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that for sure. I was already planning on seeing it. I never got to see the Phantom Menace in the theater. I was 3 years old.
Okay. So that makes sense.
So I'm looking forward to that. But if they're showing all 9, I think I want to do one of the originals. Again, never got to experience that. And then if I got time, I'll probably do Revenge of the Sith again.
Yeah.
That was a big childhood moment for me. But Phantom for sure, just to celebrate 25th anniversary of it. But I would like to see Empire on the big screen. Never have. Yeah. So I feel like
and I think that would be cool because, again, I mean, I still like going to the movies, and there's so many that I go to, even these newer movies, there's 3 people in there.
Yeah.
So why not bring all 9 movies back?
Yeah.
I'll even go see Rogue One and Solo again in the theater. Leave them up for a little while, even if it's just a week or something, or bring 3 of them back, for a couple weeks, and then bring 3 more or something like that. I really think people are still going to go to them, and it's not going to be much less than who's not going now.
Right.
Which I think would be really cool. But yeah, I would love to see all 3 of them, all the originals in there, which I think would be really cool.
Little nostalgia hit.
Yeah, and again, the prequels as well.
Yep.
I think we all, obviously it's been more recently with the the new ones, but I think the prequels would be. I'd love to see Attack of the Clones again. In the theater. Cause
your favorite parts.
Yeah,
in there.
just watching Yoda do that, because again, I love watching it on TV or throwing it up here while I'm doing stuff. Or if it's on TBS or TNT, I'll always put it on even with the commercials. But to go down and sit and watch it in the theater again, I think would be cool. Yeah. Or even if I could catch one of them in IMAX, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Which I've never seen one in IMAX. I might have seen like The Force Awakens if they had it or something like that.
Right. But, I think that would be really cool to do that, which would be fun.
Right.
All right, R2, we're going to wrap things up. I get it. We've gone, we can sit here and talk for hours and hours on it. But again, I appreciate you coming on and being the new co-host. We'll have Nick back here again. We have some really cool announcements that I'm going to be putting up on YouTube along with my social media. We got some cool new people that we're going to be interviewing. So I'm excited about that, and we'll have that on there. So again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the station, hit the like button. You'll get the little bell. It'll let you know when we have new podcasts up and things like that. I'm going to try to start putting out some more content. Me and Nick will be getting together a little bit more often, talking about stuff, some of these new trailers that are coming out, even the new episodes. If we got a Zoom or whatever, we'll sit down and talk about, pick some of these episodes apart with all this new stuff coming out. So again, Nick, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Happy to do some more. Happy to engage with our community that we love so much. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is. It's such a fun thing that we can do and talk about. So we'll see you guys next time on Star Wars Jedi Chat. And until then, may the Force be with you. See ya.